content creation has shook the photography, videography world
Ruffled
a little bit.
few feathers, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, ruffling the feathers, that's a good phrase. I mean, we worked together for a wedding recently.
We did.
We kind of helped each other. There were
Yeah.
certainly times where you were even sort of inputting on certain bits, which to me, I don't mind. Like, it's helpful.
Went really well. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And the content went a little bit viral on TikTok. I got 1.4 million views on that one.
Nice.
Her dress was Ava Lendell. I don't know how to say it. Eva Lendell. It's basically like a bridal dress shop, and they're really big.
Quite a big one.
I think they're based in maybe New York. They're really good. They saw the content and they really liked it, and they've posted 3 of my videos since on their Instagram, and they've got quite a big Instagram.
It can just go like that.
It did. I went from having, it was a bit slow at first, like people finding me thinking, what is this? Like, is this something I want? And then I did a few more weddings, and then I had so many bookings at the beginning of this year, which was amazing.
Hello and welcome to the I Do's and Do Nots podcast. If you're planning your dream wedding, then this is definitely the podcast for you. I'm Chris Wardle. I'm a luxury wedding videographer from Lifestyle Visuals, and each and every episode I'll be joined by a range of wedding experts to discuss tips, tricks, the do's, the don'ts, all when planning your special and unique day. So let's get into today's episode. So today I'm joined by Hope from Social Soiree, and she is a luxury content creator specialising in weddings, and she's based in St Albans in Hertfordshire. So first of all, thank you very much for joining me on the I Do's and Do Nots podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So in a very quick summary way, could you just quickly explain really what content creation is, because it's quite a new thing, quite a trendy thing at the minute, and then we'll go into a bit more depth in a little while.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically behind the scenes iPhone footage of your wedding day. So it's photo and video, mainly video for me personally, and it's just sort of capturing all the elements of your wedding day, like the details, the main events, obviously, but it's the moments in between as well, which is quite good with content creation, because obviously it's quite a good add-on for those videography and photography packages, having a content creator to capture all the in-between moments. You basically get a real overview of the day. You might miss certain moments of your guests because you're tied up in having couple shoots or something like that. So it's just a good way of collecting all those memories and having it within 24 hours to look back on.
And it's primarily, most people are shooting it on iPhones, so it's phone content. So it's very much a separate add-on. So you would have photography, you would have videography, and then you would have a content creator. That's what most people are doing now, right?
Yeah, so all 3 are different. They're all 3, obviously, they've got separate sort of media that they're producing from that. They're filmed on different equipment. They're all very different, and even the finishing product, it's, even though you'd think it's just video, like a videographer, but it's not. It's short form content. It's sort of quick. It's snappy. It's like a overall highlight of your day. It's not having really got audio like speeches and stuff like that. It's more sort of short snippets of your day compiled into, like, for me, I do highlight reels. So that's just loads of short clips of your day, and it will be synced to some music. Sometimes I might put a little bit of audio over it, but that's not like a key focus. And yeah, this is very, very different, but I think
and presumably it's for someone, I guess doesn't have to be, but mainly for couples that are quite social media orientated. They want to share stuff online afterwards and really shout about what they've done. And I guess in some ways videography doesn't always lend itself to that, because it tends to be much longer form.
Yeah, I think it's obviously, I think a lot of people do think it's only for social media, but it is obviously amazing for people that are active on social media and they want this short form content that it's easy to post on there. It's suited to the platform. But I do think that it goes beyond that as well. I think it is just having all of that raw unedited footage of memories of your day, the authentic moments. Obviously, a lot of influencers and stuff like that, they are using content creators for their wedding day. So there is definitely that element to it, but I think it definitely does go beyond that as well. So a lot of people are worried, well, I'm not like a big social media person, so why would I get this? Like I don't care like what I post on there. But it's not just about that. It's even sending it amongst family and friends. Like it's just, you're not going to sit with every friend you have and watch a 30-minute video. You know, that's for your family, it's for you and immediate family or friends, like close friends. But this is quite good to share with people who you're not necessarily, you know, you wouldn't want them to go and watch the whole wedding video, but you want them to get an element of what your day was like, but just in a quicker form.
And I guess it's just nice to have on your camera roll as well.
That's like, it. It's easy access.
If you're the sort of person that takes a lot of photos of your day-to-day life and you scroll back thousands of photos on your phone, it's the same thing. You want to scroll back to that part of your life, which was the wedding day.
That's
but
it,
obviously you're not going to be there filming it yourself. So you're just taking that role for that particular day, I guess.
I think not everyone, but a lot of people do like to get sort of snapshots of their day and stuff, especially on like social media, like you have your stories and people want to like share what they're doing. And I think it's good for people who do really love doing that, but they can't do that on their wedding day.
Yeah, it's not appropriate to have your phone out at all, really, on
But
on
even
your
family
day.
and friends on the day, you don't want them doing that. You want them to enjoy it. I think that's one key aspect of content creation, is that you can go unplugged. You have someone dedicated solely to taking this iPhone footage of your wedding day, so you don't have to worry about, you know, family missing moments, or it's just not the same. You can't focus on something whilst taking content of it. You just I know that for like a fact. I couldn't focus like on what's ahead of me because I'm focusing on like the lighting, you miss the moment,
angles. Don't you?
Exactly.
You don't live in the real moment.
No.
You live through the screen.
That's it.
And I think, to be honest, that's quite a big issue in general day-to-day life.
Yeah, that's it. So I think it just takes that away from that on your wedding day. You want everyone to be present. It's the most important day of your life, and you want to have those memories, but you don't want to compromise on anyone's experience of your day. I think that's why it's good.
Amazing. Okay, well, that's a lot more in depth than I planned to go through on the first intro. But to be honest, that it is good to get to know. Yeah, it is good to understand exactly what today's episode's about. So before we get into even more detail, anyone who's been listening to the podcast up till now will know that we do like a quick fire get to know you round. So it's usually broken into two sections, so a bit more of a generic round and then a more wedding specific one. So it's just some quick fire questions to get to know you as a person, and then we'll go into the main episode. So first of all, by the way, this is kind of just one word answers or very short sentences. So your hometown?
St Albans, well, London Colney, but I just say St Albans because no one knows London Colney.
Are you married?
No.
Any children?
No.
Favourite colour?
Pink.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night, I think. A night owl.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dream holiday destination?
Oh, that's a sticky one. I'm not sure. There's a lot.
You've been a lot of places I've seen.
Well, this just because of this, really. But yeah, I think probably Maldives. It's got to be, I think.
Yeah. Favourite season?
Autumn.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Rap music or rock music?
Oh, neither. I think if I had to choose one, rap music probably.
Okay. Introvert or extrovert?
I'm a bit of both. I couldn't give you an answer for that. So it depends what day it is.
Yeah. Well, we have to force it even if we're not.
Well, that's it. On a wedding
jobs.
day, you have to be bit of an extrovert. So.
Okay. Let's go on to the more wedding specific ones then. Mm-hmm. So along the lines of weddings, do you prefer UK or abroad weddings?
I think obviously the convenience of a UK wedding is great if it's easier to sort of get to and stuff like that. It doesn't take out so many days, because with an abroad one, you're traveling for a couple of days sometimes, either side. But I love getting to visit places, and I do like abroad weddings. I think it might be probably abroad. It probably does take that.
Yeah, cool. Large weddings or intimate weddings?
maybe an in between.
So sort of what, 50 people?
Yeah,
kind
like
of?
I think not so many that you don't even know who's there at that point, but maybe it's nice to have your close ones around you and not just be
And
on
it
your
depends
own.
what culture. Like if it's an Asian wedding, a large wedding is like 600 people.
Well, yes, but that is like another factor, isn't it? I think it's just down to the person. For me personally, that's my answer. Like for other weddings, whatever they prefer. For me personally, probably in between.
Country house or barns?
Country house, 100%, yeah.
Band or DJ?
Band.
Traditional or unique?
Traditional, I think. I like traditional.
Children allowed or not allowed?
Oh.
Always a stumbling.
Yeah. I have nieces and nephews, so I couldn't imagine my day without them, but I need someone who is there willing to take them out if they start misbehaving, because I definitely don't want to be worrying about that on the day.
Yeah. I think specific children allowed. That's what I did. I had my twin nephews. And they were
not
the
just
only...
anyone's child. Like it has to be a child that sort of means a lot to me and my partner.
I agree with that. Okay. Summer or winter weddings?
Summer weddings, outdoors.
That's the next question.
Is it?
Indoor or outdoor ceremony?
Outdoor ceremony, 100%.
Speeches or no speeches?
Yeah, depends how many and how long. I think, is this for my own wedding?
Could be.
For my
There's
own, just be short speeches, because and the right people doing it, because people get they kind of
it's
tune
just
out.
I guess it's just whether you think they're a worthy thing to have, or if people should cut them out.
I don't think you should cut them out, but I don't think that you need like a hour-long speech, because the people that,
especially not before the food's served.
Yeah, and or in between courses when they're waiting for if they've had their starter, it's kind of like a teaser, and they're waiting for their main.
Well, there's many episodes where we talk about speeches if you want to go back and listen. Wine or champagne?
Wine.
Beer or spirits?
Spirits.
And last question, leaving early or last person standing as a guest?
Oh, as a guest. Last person standing.
There you go. Okay, so that's the end of the quick fire round. Hopefully we've got to know your personality a little bit more. So just looking over my questions, obviously we went into it actually quite a lot in depth already about what content creation is. You also mentioned that you go abroad quite a lot. I know your actual journey is... Well, tell us about your journey. Like, how did you get started? Where has it took you up until now? I don't know how long you've actually been shooting content, that kind of thing.
So I've done content creation. Well, I started with social media management. So I went to uni and I did marketing, and I graduated. So it was kind of during COVID time, which was obviously not ideal, because it had the stress of uni, but not the fun of uni life. So that was a bit rubbish. But yeah, graduated from there with a marketing degree. I got a first in that, so that's good. I'm happy with that.
Well done. First club over here.
Are you a first as well?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Media production at uni. I did multimedia studies at college.
Oh, that's
so
good.
media
So that's
production.
like this, isn't it? Like,
yeah, media production it was a 50-50 split, photography, video.
That's
me.
so good.
Yeah,
I don't know how I could say mine's sort of linked, but definitely.
Well, it is definitely linked.
Yeah,
for sure.
it does help, like with certain aspects. I think business wise, it definitely helps, and then like with marketing my business and
exactly,
knowing what my client wants.
It's probably quite a good degree to do, to be honest.
Yeah, and I did social media management within that, which goes hand in hand with content creation. So,
and you're a little bit younger than me, not loads. So your generation is kind of much more social media savvy.
Yeah.
I'm just on the cusp of we do use it, but we weren't brought up with it, whereas you probably were, I guess.
Definitely, yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely evolved even now though, because I have a little brother, and like everything that I think I'm almost out of touch with it compared to him. Like that's how it seems sometimes. Like I think, but I'm not for my generation. Like I know what my generation likes to see and what they want, but definitely like with his, like, he says some things. I'm like, where have you got that from? Where's that? Like, and he's like, oh, like TikTok. I'm like, what? We're on a completely different TikTok because I've no idea.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. I've seen my auntie loves a bit of Facebook. There's a lot of people that do love a bit of Facebook. My mum loves a bit of Facebook.
Yeah, there's definitely different platforms for different
ages,
age groups for sure.
So
you obviously you done uni through COVID. So then how did that progress?
So I left uni and I started doing social media management. I started my own little brand called Hope Gracie Media. And I just did that for a lot of local companies, like a luxury travel agent. So creating content, she'd go on holidays and send me the content. I'd make it into reels, or I'd get content myself. Like I did trips to Rome and stuff, and I'd get content for her page there. So straight out of uni, I started doing content creation. And even on my own page, like if I had a day out and stuff, I'd make sure I'm making like little reels of it. So it's definitely something I really started enjoying after I left uni. And then my brother's partner they're now married. She sent me the idea of content creation for weddings.
Mm-hmm.
At first I was just like...
How long ago?
Probably last August. So
pretty... Well, I don't actually know how long it's been a thing, but I feel like it's something that's just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's probably been a thing for over a year and a half, I'd imagine. Yeah, about
that's just probably, to be fair, it probably takes about longer. A year for something to get
out there.
Out there.
But yeah, so she sent me that, and she said she thinks that I'd be good at it, and I thought, well, I might as well give it a go because I love, like, I don't know, I just love like aesthetic, like pretty content, like romantic. I like all that type of stuff. So I thought that does sound kind of right up my street. So I put a post out saying that I'll work a wedding for free to get some experience and to learn, like, if it's something I want to do. And obviously, I think a makeup artist sent that to a lady called Charlie who was getting married at Headsore House. I don't know if you know Headsore House.
I don't, but there's so many. It's
venues. Very nice. So I had my first wedding there, and it was so good. I was working alongside two really lovely creatives as well. And there was like two teams, photography and videography, and they were really lovely. They were really welcoming. So that's a good one for my first one. Obviously completely mindful of my space, what I'm doing, checked with them beforehand to make sure I'm not impacting any of their work.
Yeah.
And it went really well. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And the content went a little bit viral on TikTok. I got 1.4 million views on that one.
Nice.
Which was good. And it's
TikTok
not all about
can just go wild, can't it?
I know. It's not all about going viral, obviously, but it is nice to know, like, other brides are like saving that for inspiration for their wedding day. Like, it's making an impact on people, and that's what's nice.
And then it kind of took off from there, I guess.
Yeah.
You got kind of flooded with inquiries from that reel?
Literally pretty much from that wedding. I just kept reusing content, new ideas, like new trends and stuff. And just from there, I think a lot of people saw that wedding. Then I got a lot of bookings for Headsore House. People would directly search that. And
just it's making sure you optimize your posts, like you say. We've discussed this in other episodes about how to get found by couples. Like tagging hashtags, tag the venue, tag the location,
collaborators. I think the more you network, because I think when I have collaborations with, I think it was her dress was Ava Lendell. I don't know how to say it. Eva Lendell. It's basically like a bridal dress shop, and they're really big.
Quite a big one.
I think they're based in maybe New York. They're really good, really, really nice. They saw the content and they really liked it, and they've posted 3 of my videos since on their Instagram, and they've got quite a big Instagram. So that definitely.
Hopefully they tagged you.
They did, because I sent them. I then got speaking to one of their team, and I sent them my stuff, and they did. Yeah, they
amazing. So that's it. It can just go like that.
It did. I went from it was a bit slow at first, like people finding me thinking, what is this? Like, is this something I want? And then I did a few more weddings, and then I had so many bookings at the beginning of this year, which was amazing. And now I've got lots, and I've got lots more, and next year's filling up, which is really good.
So how far ahead should people be booking a content creator?
I have found we are a last minute thing.
You reckon? Okay.
No, that's what people are doing. They're booking us more last minute, but I would obviously,
But I think
like
that's
any
because
supplier,
it's...
I don't know, it's
I
like
think it's because it's not been out long.
maybe, yeah. I think a lot of people say, I think it's just because obviously it goes normally
if you've got extra budget,
photographer,
maybe.
then it goes videographer, doesn't it? And then now it obviously goes content creator after that.
Yeah.
But
I think you'll see it becomes a 1 to 2 year ahead.
I've had inquiries for 2026. I've got people on my wait list now for 2026 when I release that. But I just didn't I didn't want to open that diary just yet. I'm not ready for that.
No. Who knows what they're doing in 3 years, especially if you're quite new in business.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. And obviously, as a whole, content creation has exploded, I would say.
Yeah.
And there is lots of different levels to it. So I guess we could touch on that quickly. Like, as with photography, as with videography, now with content creation, not all content creation is equal. It's not all the same. So obviously you promote yourself in the luxury market, but how would you describe your style of content creation?
So I like to say it's like a luxury documentary style. Like it's quite, I don't know, it's like romantic. It's focusing on the details and like the beauty of the day. I think I love detail shots. Like when I say detail shots, I mean even like close-ups of like the dress and the decor and of the couple, like in between couple, with the couple portraits, like the in-between moments, like, the laughs before they're getting ready for the next shot and like they're messing around. It's just like
when we're not rolling, you are kind of thing.
Literally. So I think, and I like quite a clean edit, not too heavy on like transitions, and I like it to look quite like it tells a story. You can really feel who the couple are through the video, and get a sense of what their day was like and the people around them on their day, and just tell like an authentic sort of.
So what does I don't know if you have one package or if you've got multiple packages, what does a package look like? Like if I'm a couple looking to get married, what am I expecting to receive from you in terms of actual assets?
So I have my packages currently, they're more of like an hourly one. So I have like a 6-hour package, an 8-hour package. In each of those, every package I offer and just any content creation I do, you get all the raw footage. So you'll get every video and photo that I take on that day. Literally
as a clip.
Yeah, well, yeah, just
image.
all of it on Google Drive. I'll upload it, and then you can obviously go through and save the bits that you want to keep. And as well as that, you'll get edited short form clips. So in my bigger packages, I offer what's called a main highlight reel, and that's a longer one. It's between 1 and 2 minutes. Sometimes it's gone above 2 minutes. Depends how much of the day I want to try and get in there. And then I've got the short form ones, which are more maybe like a bridesmaids feature or a decor and details. I do love a decor and details. I do a lot of them.
Yeah. As do I. But
I think.
Well, I'd say I don't know loads of content creators. I've worked with a couple in the last couple of months because we're just coming out of peak season, I guess, or probably still in peak season technically.
Yeah.
I feel like if there was a scale between, I don't know, rough and ready, quick clips on my iPhone up to videography, I think you're quite higher up towards the videography side.
Thank you.
Just because you're quite polished and, like you say, the detaily bits, and you do stitch clips together to make a narrative.
Yeah.
And I feel there probably is a lot of content creators that they don't do any of that. They just will send you your 300 clips on Google Drive and that's you done. I think that is the differentiation possibly between you, but also like the different levels of content creators. Yeah, and the same with everything, price difference.
I think most people do offer those reels, but like you said, it's just...
But they'll be on Instagram templates or whatever.
Yeah, there's literally
pick 10
such
clips and they'll pick 10 clips and it'll make it for them.
the cap.
Whereas I saw behind the scenes on your story and you're using, I don't know what, iMovie or CapCut or something.
Yeah.
So you're actually editing on a computer.
Yes, I edit on my computer. I will sync it to an audio of their choice. Sometimes, like I said, I've just done a reel actually, and synced a bit of audio over it. Just to, I know, because I don't want to obviously cross the line of videography, but I also want my content to, I want it to be good. I want them to be really happy with the finishing product, and I want it to tell a story. And so I do obviously try my best to make sure that they're getting like a luxury service and a luxury finished product. Like it's worth the money they're paying. It's worth booking me. So.
And I was saying before we started recording that I feel that we're trying to explain what luxury is. And it's easy to say, well, luxury is just expensive, but luxury doesn't mean expensive. It means people that want something that is, how do I explain it? Something that's polished, something that's a whole, like the wedding, it might be a fancy wedding because naturally that tends to be what it comes with. Like they do spend a lot of money, but that's because they want all the finer details, like all the little intricate bits that make for an amazing day. And those sort of people naturally are people that like to have more pristine stuff. They like everything to be precise. They might be quite conscious with how they look. They might want a fancy venue because of how the venue looks. Obviously that does come with a price generally, but it doesn't necessarily mean it is expensive. It means that person is looking for something that is of the finer quality, is what I would say. And I now class myself as a luxury videographer to make that differentiation, because I'm not a rough and ready videographer. There's nothing wrong with that. There's people for every category.
Well, that's the thing. Like, everyone.
But I'm
has
all about the
style.
details as well.
Yeah,
I like the details. I like when it's a pretty venue. I like when they've...
That's probably why we got on so well. We liked each other's work.
They paid attention to the table decor and it actually looks nice. Like, our work will only look as nice as how the wedding looks, realistically.
Of course, I think that's the good thing about sort of choosing the right supplier for you and them matching this. I think that's another thing I wanted to touch base on in a little bit, is like having a videographer and a photographer and a content creator that have a relatively similar style in a way.
That generally happens naturally, but not always.
Yeah, I think that always
I've said this
helps
on the podcast before. Like, usually a couple will pick a photographer that aligns with a videographer because their style are quite similar. Occasionally, a few times it doesn't quite happen. But usually they like what they like, and that happens to be the same thing. Yeah, I've had a lot of messages saying like, you really match my photographer style or videographer style, and like that's important to people. They want it to be cohesive. They want it to look, you don't want to have you want to have your different perspectives, but you don't want it to be like it looks like 3 different weddings. No, like it needs to flow nicely, doesn't it? So I think that's the same with photography, and even just down to the colours. Like, I know you do a lot of black and white from what I've seen. Yeah. But also, when there is colours like edited on the images, like your photo colours should look relatively similar to your video colours. Otherwise, you've got someone with one completely different style. Yeah. And when you see them side by side, it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look like the same wedding sometimes. No. Like, it can make such a big difference. Like a heavy edit might change the colour of the bouquets, the bridesmaid dresses. Like, we've had that discussion too. Bridesmaids dresses changing. A lot of people spend a long time choosing that perfect colour. And then to then have a filter, as people would know it, applied, and then it looks completely different. I know. But then at the same time, when you choose your photographer, you see their style, you see their editing style. Exactly, yeah. So books, you should see that person's style. You should go on their page and see consistency. Like, I've spent a long time, like when I first started, my Instagram grid looked such a mess because every video I was making had a different colour sort of tone to it, because I was new and I was experimenting myself. Yeah, yeah. But when you saw that collated as like 12 posts, it looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
But as a single video, you wouldn't notice. But
No, yeah, you're just.
But now I would like to
experimenting.
think, because the last 2 years I've been pretty much using the same editing style, that now people know exactly what they're going to get. Like they book me, they know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Like obviously it'll be their wedding, but the colours and the styling is all going to be very similar.
Definitely.
And I would think it's the same with you, really.
Yeah, I think if you look at my page, I like to think it's got a flow to it. Like obviously, I think I have a bit of a alternating grid going on where it's black and white and then colour, black and white colour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do use some sort of presets, not presets, it's on an app I use, and it's just like I adjust the colours to be a bit warmer sometimes, or
Yeah.
maybe a bit more vintage or something. But it depends on the reel. Like say if they say to me like I want to do a bit more of a vintagey reel, then I will go and put like a bit of an edit on that. But
that's because their wedding
is
that sort of way inclined. It's a
that
vintagey
vibe, yeah.
type of wedding. So
Yeah.
fine. Okay. And in terms of, I know there's a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's definitely, the content creation has shook the photography, videography world
ruffled
a little
a few
bit.
feathers, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, ruffling the feathers. That's a good phrase. As I said, personally, I'm pretty laid back.
Yeah.
In general, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried, to be honest. If the couple wants to bring in another person to shoot content, great. I mean, we worked together for a wedding recently.
We did.
And I felt like it worked pretty seamlessly. We kind of helped each other. There were certainly times where you were even sort of inputting on certain bits, which to me, I don't mind. Like it's helpful. There's other photographers or whatever that will find that you're treading on their toes, or will feel that's treading on their toes. And that is going on at the moment, where there is a bit of you've got the photographers, for example, that they think content creation is the worst thing ever. They just think it's someone that's interfering now. It's someone else in the way. Oh, they're using a phone because, well, they're using a phone, so it is not good quality.
Yeah, like
it's not a camera. So there's a lot of beef going on internally.
I know.
And again, it does depend on the content creator themselves, because I've not worked with enough. I'm sure there is ones out there that will cause more upset than benefit.
I think that's like it with anything though, isn't it? Like it's just how you handle yourself professionally, how you work on the day. I think communication is the biggest thing that will just resolve all these issues. Actually discussing beforehand, I was saying to someone the other day, we were talking about this, and I said, if you're a photographer or a videographer and you know you've got a content creator coming to a wedding you're doing, and you're feeling a bit anxious about it, maybe a bit hostile towards it, just reach out, because it's not fair on the couple to go into that wedding day with hostility towards another supplier and bringing bad energy to the day. It's not fair.
No.
And likewise for content creators, if you're concerned about something, I don't think it's not really, it's more the other way around. But obviously just with any supplier, if you're really concerned about something, just communicate. I'm sure there will be some sort of, they'll rectify the situation. You'll feel a lot more at ease. And yeah, you've just got it's just how you handle it, isn't it? I think
my approach to any part of the wedding, to be honest, is whatever happens. Like that was the wedding. So if there was someone there that was, even if they are hindering me to some respect, like they were there, like that's what happened. Like that's what I'll do the best I can with what I can. But yeah, it's kind of in my contract that if a guest is interfering too much, like if someone suddenly decides to stick their phone out as a guest in the middle of the aisle when you're walking down it, which happens more often than not,
all the time,
which is why all these unplugged ceremonies became so popular, because you end up with shots with everyone's arm out.
Well, it helps you guys then, doesn't it, having a content creator there? So you're not having, people don't really listen to Unplugged all the time though.
No,
I had a wedding, the person, one particular guest didn't listen to that Unplugged thing, and during the aisle walk had their phone like completely in the way of most people's shots.
But if that happens, then unfortunately we can't
You can't do
retake
anything
it,
about
so
it. Yeah.
it's going to be in your image. So you've
you
got
don't
to
want
accept
to. You're
that.
not obviously going to go and be rude to the guest. You just have to. I adjusted my position so I could still capture some of it, but it's not the best angle.
Yeah.
But you're given what you're given. You can't help it.
And I guess the other debate is going to be, well, how many people doing media, we'll call it, how many people doing media do you need at a wedding? And it's now got to the point where you've got second shooters, which for those who don't know, a second shooter is an assistant to, well, say photography will have a second shooter. So that's a second photographer who will come with the main photographer and assist them on the day. So you've now got two people taking photos. In the morning, one might go to one of the side of the couples, one will go to the other side, and then they'll work together through the day. In my case, again, I do use second shooters. So that second person will often be at the other side of the room, or if I go off with a couple, they will stay with the guests. So you've got two videographers, you've got two photographers potentially, and now you've potentially got a content creator as well, which might be a fifth. I don't know if two content creators is a thing yet. I'm guessing not.
Maybe somewhere, but
maybe for morning prep potentially.
Yeah, I just think.
What's your opinion on? Should people be concerned that there's now 5, potentially 6 people that are now trying to take imagery in one way or the other?
Obviously, it does become a bit of a production at that point. There's a lot of people, but I think. I don't know if this is just my opinion, if other people haven't got this, but say if you have got 2 photographers and 2 videographers, they don't all need to be getting the same angle of the ceremony. And they
shouldn't be, no. That's the whole point.
And I've had some weddings where potentially they would have been, but there's plenty of space normally for content creator, photographer and videographer, usually in some way or another, because I've got a gimbal that extends so I can go behind if I have to, which I have done before. Like I've extended it just so I can capture it without being in any one shot. I think, you don't need all 5 going down like the aisle and stuff like that. So if they have their own things they are going to be capturing, I think it's fine. You're not all going to be just stood there.
That's a fair point. I mean, yeah. My second shooter shouldn't be anywhere near me really, because
that's it.
Why are they next to me? Because I'm already there. So
because I did have one recently. It's a lovely wedding, but there was a second shooter who was taking the same shots as the main photographer, just stood side by side for most of it, which is, it's up to people what they want. It's completely fine, but in that instance, it would have been a little bit crowded having that many people capturing those moments. So I think
I would say is it comes down to the couple, because as much as you say, it becomes a production, there's actually couples that want it to feel like a production.
Yeah.
So if you're a real low key couple, maybe you do just want one photographer, one videographer, one content creator, or it's very common still to just have one photographer. Like if you're super low key, then just have your one photographer. Again, it'll be another dispute whether a content creator can replace a videographer. Again, that's a personal preference.
It's just always down to the couple. That's the thing. I think a lot of people there's no right or wrong. Like you know what you're getting. With a videography, you're going to get this like polished content with not content, like video with professional equipment. You've got like the crisp audio, you've got those types of things, but as long as people know the difference, it's up to them to decide what they want.
Well, so let's explain the difference. So most people, they know what photography is. Nowadays, most people are very aware what videography is. It's just the moving version of the photography, and importantly includes the high quality sound where we record elements of the speeches and we actually place professional mics on people. So where's the difference here for content creation? Like, how would you explain the difference between mainly video and content creation?
So I think the difference, it's a lot, because firstly, it's the equipment you're using.
So what equipment do you use? Because I don't think we've said that.
I personally use an iPhone 15 Pro Max, so it's my iPhone, and a gimbal, DJI Osmo, I think it's called Mobile something. So that, like you said, it sort of stabilizes my phone. Sometimes I go handheld depending on the moment, but that just helps for when I'm on the move a bit. And then I have a light as well. Sometimes that's another equipment I have, and I have a drone, but that isn't always used, obviously, depending on the weather and things. So yeah, I've got the equipment is obviously similar in like the drone and like the lighting and stuff. That's just like photographers probably have that as well. It's just what most people have. It's like a basic, but the bulk of my content is shot on an iPhone. And I don't mic up people. I have audio, obviously. It's just iPhone audio. It's not.
You're not placing a microphone on anyone. It's just picking it up as it would.
Yeah.
In any room.
Yeah, literally.
And are you shooting in portrait or do you do a mix? So it's all shot.
I have done some landscape, not with the intention of posting it landscape.
That probably is the biggest difference, to be fair. It wasn't what I was thinking of the top of my head. I was more focused on the audio quality difference, because there is a big audio quality difference. But the fact that all of your content, or most of it, especially most content creators, not just yours, is shot vertically.
Yeah.
Whereas all videography will be shot landscape, like it's designed for a TV screen.
Yeah.
I guess that's a big difference, which, in fairness, I wasn't my main point, but that is quite valid.
That's probably the main difference, isn't it? Like, it's the finishing product. You're going to get a portrait video.
I do think the sound's more important than maybe the average person would think.
Yeah, if you've got...
because we're clipping mics literally on someone's collar, like lapel of the jacket, or it is quite difficult micing females, but there is ways we can do it, and we can strap it to other mics. Like if you're using a handheld mic, sometimes we strap our more high quality mic to that mic, so you're just holding them both.
Yeah.
That audio quality is quite important, especially for if you go on my Instagram and look at my teasers. I usually take sound bites from like this, like if there's a nice reading or a poem.
Yeah.
Like to have that in really crisp, high quality audio is actually quite important. Whereas a phone, although obviously the phones are very good now, but if it's across the room,
it's not the same.
You get the echo of the room. You hear like Auntie Sarah cough because she's closer to you than the mic. So that's the main big difference as well, I would say.
Well, because I'm not aiming to give you, I'm giving you raw footage, but I'm not aiming to give you a finishing video where audio is a key aspect.
You're not recording the speeches so we can watch it back.
Yeah, like that's not, obviously if someone's requesting that I please record them in full, more than happy to.
So maybe if someone didn't book a videographer.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't want to speak for everyone, but is it fair that they could say, oh, well, could you just record the speeches for us on the phone? Or is that not part of a standard content creator option?
We don't tend to like,
because that's where people start to get upset, I think, because it's a crossover.
But then again, that's like what some people don't want a videographer full stop. And then I think that's just like, I can't.
And it's still an iPhone recording.
I can't tell people what they can and can't have at their wedding. I do highlight to my couples, you know, I'm not a photographer, I'm not a videographer, I'm a content creator. The finishing product is what you see on my Instagram, and the raw footage. You're not going to get, I don't have microphones, I'm not miking people up. I don't tend to record things in full. I do mainly snippets because obviously, especially when I'm working alongside a photographer or something, they walk around a lot and I have to like change my position quite a few times, so I just stop it there and start recording again. Obviously I focus on the key aspects, like in the ceremony, the vows, the ring exchange. You're
very much, I'd say, even more documentary than a documentary photographer would be, because although a documentary photographer is quite candid, they do still stage stuff. They will take a dominant position in the room. So presumably you have a less dominant position normally, unless there's plenty of room in the room.
Yeah,
So the photographer will always have the key prime best position.
Yeah.
You would hope.
They do tend to. Well, they tend to float around as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Up at the front, down the aisle.
But content creation is meant to be that different angle. It's the audience perspective in some cases.
Yeah.
It's the perspective that you don't see. That's the whole point of it, I think.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both, because obviously I can't say that I only captured the guest perspective, because that's not true. Like I do come along for the couples portraits and things like that, but I'm not providing, I don't know, like professional photographs from that. I'm just recording.
But that's where, I mean, you're kind of closer to videography, photography than you are, I guess, like the audience perspective type stuff. And I'm sure there is content creators out there that probably don't come out to the couple shoots, or if they do, what you'll get is you would see me filming. I would think.
Well, you'd think most people do, just they don't tend to do that.
I don't know if it's like behind the scenes, or maybe that's too far.
I don't think it's like that for.
Like I said, I've not experienced enough of it to know. And I've never booked one.
No. I think I'm with a lot. I've met a lot of content creators, and we all have like a similar standing point on like the day, like where we're kind of going to be, but it's just obviously we do get the guest perspective on some of it, but I wouldn't miss out on like having some shots of the couple. Like, but then if you look at my reels and stuff, you'll see it is obviously it's portrait and it's like short snippets. It's not like I'm recording the whole thing, and it's just not the same as a videographer's perspective or a photographer's. It's different. The final product is different, and that's the main
the main thing that I mean, I think it's a good idea. I'm not one of these people that are against it, and there is people in my industry that are against it for sure. Yes. Like I said, I'm pretty down to earth, relaxed. I don't really care. I'm sure there's cases where photographers or videographers, someone won't book that because I'll book a content creator in their place or instead, and I'm sure that will happen. But then that isn't the right couple for you anyway, kind of thing.
Yeah, I've never been. I don't think I ever have, and I don't think I ever will go to a wedding if they haven't at least got a photographer.
No. Well, I don't know. I mean, I
wouldn't personally. Not unless like. I just don't think I would. I don't want to.
I think that's
not my
unlikely
job.
to happen. I think if anyone's getting the cold shoulder, it's me, unfortunately.
I've had inquiries though saying like we're not going to have a photographer. We only want a couple of family shots. And I said, well, that's not my job, unfortunately. Like I can give you photos from an iPhone, but I don't feel comfortable because photographers sort of run the wedding day most of the time, like with the shots and stuff. They do have a lot of say in like how the flow of the day. Yeah. And that's not what I do. So I wouldn't tend to work with one and I wouldn't put myself forward for a wedding where they're really, really passionate about having these speeches and this audio and this hour-long video or half-hour-long video, capturing all of that. I would tell them I can't give you that. That's not what I do. I do. Like, I'm a content creator. This got its own obviously amazing benefits, but I'm not a photographer or a videographer. So I do like to make that clear because I wouldn't want the lines to be too blurred where people start expecting things from me that I can't and won't give them. And I think that's like maybe with you, like you wouldn't, someone started asking you to do like the photography on the day, so it's not my job.
Can you just take a few still photos while you're
it's just
there?
not my job.
Well, definitely not. I cannot do that.
So, but I completely understand some people don't understand what content creation is and they need that sort of clarity of like.
Long story short, I think the message is it's an addition. It shouldn't really be a replacement. Obviously, if budgets are a concern, then yes, you weigh up what you think is
preference. I think because I have been booked instead of videographers, but that's just because they're saying they weren't going to have a videographer full stop, and then they've come across a content creator and decided to add that on. It's not like they were deciding between the two; like they weren't going to have any sort of video content, but then they saw this as a way of having some video content, but they without having the, you know, the longer video or that aspect.
Usually it's going to be a price thing as well.
Yeah.
You might be able to, assuming we're talking at a wedding that's got some budget restraints in place, so you've definitely got to afford the photographer. But if you can you can't afford a videographer, but you can afford a content creator, then that's better than having nothing. Right?
Yeah.
Price point wise, videography is going to be a lot more expensive than a content creator.
Yeah,
usually.
Of course. There's a lot more to it.
Yes, unfortunately in this market, you can pay whatever price you want to pay for any service.
Yeah.
Like you can book a photographer. You can book a photographer or videographer for 400 quid. Don't recommend it, but you can. And you can book a photographer for 4,000 and more, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. You can pay whatever you want to pay. So it is just, I guess, just look at your budget and see what you'd get the most value for.
Yeah, I think, and it's
but you should see it as an add-on.
Yeah, I would definitely explain it as like an add-on to your day, but then I think if it's your personal preference, if you don't want a videographer, but you want, like, I wouldn't say that's like the wrong decision. It's just as long as you know what you're going into, like what you're being provided with.
Yeah. I think it's cool to have all these assets on your phone that you can scroll back to. Okay, we got married in June on last year. Scroll back to June last year, and you can see your whole wedding on your phone really quick in all these little clips. I think it's quite a really cool, valuable thing to have.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of value in it, and I think obviously, like you said, there's a lot of stigma around it in the photography and videography world, but we don't want it to be like that either. We just want to get on with other suppliers. We want it to be flowing nicely on the day, but I know that there is a bit of stigma around it. So, and some people aren't so accepting of it.
So price-wise, on average, what is the kind of average price point people are expecting? Like, because this podcast is aimed at couples who are hopefully planning their wedding.
Yep.
Like, what sort of budget? I don't mean exact numbers, but what sort of ballpark should people be expecting to receive quotes from?
Oh, it's so hard. Like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of new content creators coming in, and like you said, with the £400 thing, they're charging as little as like $150 for a full day and all this. But that's, you know, that's not.
There's a reason, because they're new.
Yeah, they're new. Like that's not what the average is. So it's hard to say like what it is.
So what is? I have an idea, but I don't know because I have not researched. I would assume it's around 500 or not.
It depends. For a whole day, probably you'd be looking between 700 and 1,000.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, maybe a bit more. There is people charging less than that, but it's like you said, there's different levels, and
because you're providing a lot of like highly edited stuff. Like if someone's, I imagine your £200 person, apart from their inexperienced, and their work won't look like yours either. And that's the main thing. The work won't look like yours.
Different styles, isn't it? Like,
but I imagine they'll just fill up their camera or their phone with clips, and then either like file transfer or just airdrop you them all, and then that's them done. There's nothing more. There's no more work.
Everyone tends to do a reel, at least one.
You reckon?
Yeah, surely.
Well,
Because,
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think so, because that's, I don't know.
A reel on a template, on a CapCut template, that's taking them 5 minutes.
I don't know anyone personally. I haven't spoke to anyone personally that does that, but I have no idea like what the new people are offering. I haven't researched into it. I just know what the people I've worked closely with, or I've like.
All I know is I've seen like the face. I always slag off Facebook because there's definitely a different audience. There's a Facebook audience, there's an Instagram audience, and then there is TikTok, but that's kind of different. Like I always see Facebook as the budget end of the market. I don't know why, because it should be the same audience.
I think but Instagram's a bit more about the aesthetic of it, isn't it?
Facebook is a bit more down and dirty, cheap, not so worried about how it looks. They just want someone to do the job. And then Instagram is a bit more like you say, aesthetic, needs to be perfect, needs to be pretty, needs to be more higher end, I guess.
Yeah. I think that is what I know what you mean with Facebook. It's different, isn't it? Like the content that's posted on there. It's like TikTok. I think my stuff does well on TikTok, but it probably majoritively does better on Instagram because, like I said, I focus on like the decor and the details and like a lot of like couple moments and things that are short form things. Like it's hard to explain it. It's like it's the romance of the day. Obviously, you get that with anything, but if you were to look at my videos, you'd sort of see what I mean. Like it's.
And what about trends? Like couples have seen there's a TikTok trend, something they want to recreate.
Yeah.
Is that where you come in, presume?
Yeah, so I offer that to couples. I can do that. I think I've seen a bit of a drop in that because as I've gone into like the luxury market, people don't really want to do these. They say like cheesy reels and things like that. I think they can be good fun on the day, but I do understand like it's not for everyone. And if you've got you want an elegant sort of clean vibe for the day, like you don't want it to be too. You know the type of like weddings I'm talking about, like where they want it to be.
If it's not a cheesy wedding, if it's a very classic, very polished wedding,
they're not going to want
be
things
messing
like
about
that.
with cheesy stuff. Equally, they're not going to be having photographs where they're lifting up the groom and chucking them in the air.
Yeah, you know what type of wedding it is. Like
if that's what you want as a couple, then fine. So that's you book suppliers that are appropriate to that sort of work.
I can cater to, but obviously I like to say that I'm marketed more towards the luxury weddings.
But there is some nice trends, like it's hard to describe them, but there was a cool trend where they had all the bridesmaids and groomsmen staggered and you kind of walked through the middle of them all and they all kind of jumped in front of the camera one at a time.
And do like a kiss or a cheers.
And then at the last couple, when you get to the very end, you sort of put, because we're walking backwards, and then it reveals like the bride and groom and then they kiss or whatever. I've done one of them,
actually. I've done lots of trends. Lots of people want to do trends. So the sunglasses one seems to be a very big one.
Yeah, that was big last year.
Yeah, that's it's quite a pain to create because everyone thinks you're taking a video and no one stays still for the photo. So but
that's absolutely something that a photographer wouldn't tolerate. That.
No, I think
that's not the right word to say. If you said to your photographer, I want to do this sunglasses trend, I don't think they'd be too keen to be doing it.
No, that's why it is
Which is perfect for what a content creator could take that responsibility.
But I don't tend to market too much towards the trends and the transitions because that isn't necessarily my style, but it doesn't mean that I won't do it because it's your day.
And there is content creators that do focus on the trend and they'll be trend heavy.
That's what we're saying. There's so many different categories. Everyone has got their own style. I know you'd like to think, well, it's just shot on an iPhone. How can it be? But that's like with videographers, they're all shooting on the same equipment, but they've all got their own style. Not the same, but it's most 100%. Similar equipment. Like you've got your style, your editing style. Like
equipment isn't the be end of, what's the term? Be end or end or? Be or be end or?
Wait.
The end or be end or? Wow. I don't know.
Oh my God, why have I forgot that?
What is that phrase?
Isn't the be all end all? Is that it? Doesn't sound right now, does it? It's almost like doesn't flow properly. Like it doesn't.
So we've Googled it and it is be all and end all. Is that correct?
They're going to think we're so stupid.
If you want some intelligent content creators and videographers. No. Okay, cool. So I think we've covered off loads. I'm just going to quickly look over my questions to see if we've missed anything. Was there anything else you particularly wanted to bring up or mention?
I've said already about you said about stepping on each other's toes and like working well with photographers and videographers. I'd love to help to end that stigma, really.
Because we do get a lot of listeners that are within the wedding industry.
Yeah.
The most people that message me say they've been listening are actually other suppliers or colleagues. So I'm sure there'll be some content creators or want to be content creators listening too. Yeah. So what tips can you give them from your past experience now on how to act appropriately towards their colleagues on the day?
It's just being mindful of your space. Make sure that you're not if you can see, most of the time, if you can see the photographer or videographer's lens, like you're probably in the shot. Just be mindful of where you are. I think that's with anything though, like everyone's mindful of each other on the day. Obviously with someone new, I was new last year, you can't know everything instantly, and you can't be perfect at everything instantly. So don't worry too much. Just say to them beforehand, you know, like if I ever am in the way, just give me a nudge, but just be mindful of where you are. You'll figure it out on the day. Like it sounds like, oh God, like where am I going to stand? But you'll be able to see where they are. You'll know when you're in the way and where you're not. And obviously sort of if you know the flow of the day, get to know the flow of the day beforehand, the timeline, just so you're really confident in the order of the day. I think that helps. I like to get quite a lot of details of what timings things are, because that helps for me to not sort of worry in the day or like asking people. And I'm working in my own space, I'm working off my own times. And then I think with maybe reaching out beforehand, communicate with the other suppliers.
Yeah. But this applies to most suppliers.
This is,
to be honest.
I think that's why a lot of people
sort of very easy to live in your own bubble and be a bit selfish and just turn up. And we're all busy, but
that's the thing. It is hard. I can't say that I've reached out to every photographer and videographer beforehand.
But you don't need to before. But when we meet in the morning, we're like, "Hi, don't worry. I'm not." Basically, in other words, just tell them that I'm not going to get upset with you. Let's just get along. Kind of thing.
But then it's hard because I know because we're new and maybe that's why it's expected. But would you turn up to a wedding and say to a photographer, "Oh, don't worry, I won't be in your way," or would you? I
do say that a lot.
Do you say that?
I say if I'm in your way, let me know. If I'm in your shot,
okay. So it's like a wide thing. It's not just content creators that kind of go and say that, because I did think like sometimes I don't know if it's making the stigma worse by keeping on reassuring people, like making it a thing. Because
no, I think it's pretty standard to be a nice companion for the day.
Just
like if I'm working with someone new, which 80% of the time it is a new photographer.
Yeah.
And like if say I'm in the church where it's typically there's not much room in there, like I know what they're trying to get. They know what I'm trying to get. So if I can budge over a foot to my left so they can get a better angle, then I will just do that anyway.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Not everyone does that, but
yeah,
is that sort of thing. Just be wary of what they're trying to get. If you can help them out without compromising yourself too much, then just do it.
And I think we are a bit of more of behind the scenes candid sort of perspective. So don't be sort of getting too involved unless it's sort of warranted, because sometimes if you're like, you can't have a photographer and a content creator trying to tell you what to do if they're telling two different things, and a videographer. Normally it is the photographer who sort of does the stills, and then you might say, well, could you walk please so I can get a moving shot? But like
in general, the photographer is most dominant on the day, and that's just how it is. In
a way, just be mindful of that. Don't interrupt with that process too much, because that's when it can start to get a bit confusing. So you know, you are there for most of the time, the behind the scenes sort of a candid perspective of the day. You don't want to get too involved. I do for some shots I'll say, could you hold that please for me so I can get it, or I might adjust it
that's
slightly.
the bane of my life. A photographer's like, I know, just okay, we're done, thank you. And I'm like, no, we're not done, because I haven't done it yet.
I know.
Like, I can't get my shot while they're looking at your camera.
I know.
And I need them to move probably a little bit, so because it videos movement, they don't want them frozen like a statue.
No.
So
that is the difficult
unfortunately,
bit.
they say, okay, great, thank you. Everyone changes their positions, and we have to get all back to the same position we were just in.
And then you feel like you're
but
a pain.
that's a courtesy thing with photographers. And if I'm honest, photographers have been through this once already when videographers popped up on the screen, on the scene.
But I don't think
they've had to adjust.
I don't think photographers as much are sort of so concerned about this compared to some are, but it's mainly videographers, I think. I've personally...
I don't know. I saw some salty photographers on Instagram.
Oh no, I have seen some.
They're like, oh, it's iPhone, it's no good.
Oh yeah, a lot of them are sort of like, oh, that's rubbish. Who would want iPhone footage of their day? Like, that's naff. Why would you want that? But then they'll look at my content and a few other people that are, that I know are really good, and they'll be like, oh,
your stuff doesn't look good because it's on an iPhone. It looks good because you've shot it, and the same as me.
Like I know
you could give me an
angles
iPhone as well, and it would look good. So
you have to know what you're doing. You have to have an eye for it.
Yeah,
and I think
I said that to you, didn't I?
You did
on
when
the
you
day.
met me. Yeah,
I said I can see you've got the eye for it, because everywhere I'm looking to see what I can capture, you're also looking up there.
Yeah,
like I think we were looking at a chandelier above
thing,
the thing, and I was like, I just clocked that you were also looking at it, and I was like, I can tell that you've got the creative eye for it.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. I think you do have to have an eye for it, because I mean, but everyone improves as well. Like when I first started, like my content obviously was good, but it's not as good as it is now. It's definitely improved. That's just with anything though. Like things just develop, don't they? And so I think all the content creators that have started out there, like, you know, if you've got an eye for it, if you've got a passion for it, you have to have the passion for it as well. Then you know, you can definitely make it work. You've just got to believe in yourself, really.
So finally, I just thought of one last thing that I think is a big difference between the two.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm right. And that's delivery times.
Yes.
Because is it common practice, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the turnaround time for content is usually, is it 24 hours or 48 hours?
Yeah, so it's within that time frame. Obviously, if I've got, it's as fast as it can upload. If I've got back-to-back weddings and I've got one in a farm or something the next day and there's no signal, it's going to upload a bit slower. But I tend to aim to deliver it within 24 hours. And I will speak to the bride and groom beforehand if there is something that could potentially impact that. Maybe if I've got back-to-back weddings and I'm somewhere that I'm going to really struggle with signal.
You might not send them the reels, but they can have all this.
Well, all the raw footage, as soon as I can send that, I send that.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is, I've found that if I record in cinematic, sometimes I'll upload it straight after a wedding, and then half of them haven't gone on because they haven't processed yet. Okay. So you do have to wait a little bit of time before sending it, because the cinematic ones have to process. And then for reels, within 2 to 3 days, you'll have all of those. So
there is a slight delay on the reels, because I did wonder that, because you're at the wedding for most of the day, so unless you're getting home and not going to bed and you're editing.
No. I think if it can't, I mean, if people do that, that's great, but I would struggle to.
Well, it's not.
I don't want to rush it as well. I don't want, I know that it's supposed to be like quick form content, but I also don't want to really rush it and give you something just because I wanted you to have it within that time frame. Like a 2 or 3 days that's normally happened as well, because there's back and forth, like deciding on the audio, what clips to include. Like I do give my couples a bit of a chance to sort of adjust things, like tweak them slightly. Obviously the audio has to be decided beforehand though, because I sync it to the beats. I sync it to the
cuts.
Yeah, and then if there's like a bit of an impactful part of the song, like I'll have to sync like certain shots.
So when is that decision made?
Before. Unless some I had a wedding recently and she said, can we wait till after? I want to just see what
the vibe
how I feel. Yeah. And then that was.
So what's the planning process before the wedding then, from your perspective?
So before every wedding, I have a call with my couple, probably about a month in advance, or sometimes a few weeks in advance. It depends when we can fit it in the schedule. And we'll discuss basically timings, the most important moments they want me to capture, the ratio of the content. So do you want more video or like a little bit more photo? I don't really like to do more photo. I prefer to do mostly video focused. But then some might say, oh, like, could you just have a little bit more photo than, not than video, but just than you usually do? Because they like iPhone photos maybe. So I tend to focus more on video, but I'll sort of decide on the reels, because they'll get up to a certain amount of reels in each package. So say if they've got 3 or 4 reels, we'll decide on what they want. Like I don't tend to do like, after I'll just think of reels. Like we have to decide beforehand, because otherwise you'd never close the job if you're kind of like constantly thinking of things, would you? So obviously though, if I make reels for my own Instagram and they love it, like I'll collab or I'll send it to them, because I might have a different idea for my Instagram, but they're like, actually I love that, I've had that before, where I've made a shorter.
You've made it for your own use.
And they're like, oh, I love that, can I post that?
Of course they're going to love it, because it's their wedding.
So but I've discussed everything beforehand, finalise everything, and it just makes me feel a bit better and take a shoot list with me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I feel like we could carry on, but
I know.
it's all new to me, so I'm generally learning myself as well. But it's great to see how far you've come already.
Yeah,
and it
it's
looks
good.
like you're flying high and all over the world.
I have been. I've been to Italy, Santorini, Portugal, been to a few places, hopefully many more next year.
So finally then, so where can people find out more about you? Where's the best way? What are your best platforms to see your stuff?
I'd say start with my Instagram, because I have a link tree there, and you can go to my website, my inquiry form, my TikTok. Start with my Instagram. That's Social Soiree _UK. Should I spell that?
It'll be on the screen.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Social Soiree _UK. And you can start there, have a look through my content. I think sometimes I was saying to you before, and I find it a bit hard to describe what I do without people sort of making prejudgments, because they just think it's just like anyone can do that. But I think once you have a look at the work, it sort of speaks for itself.
That's what I'm saying. You from what I've seen anyway, you're a cut above the average content creator.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
there's a few of us.
So as with literally every single thing you will book for your wedding, just compare side by side.
Yeah.
Look at competitors, look at price points, and then I always say just book the best person you can afford for your wedding, and then you're sorted. Like,
Yeah.
we're all capped by budgets eventually, so
Yeah, of course. I think, but the good thing with content creation, I don't know what everyone's budget is, but it's usually always like, if to capture most of the day, it's usually always below the 1,000 mark.
yeah.
So yeah, it's
not going to blow the bank on most weddings.
No, and I think, and it, like I said, like with who you book, it's going to be more like, mine is probably slightly more expensive than others, but I know some other girls and guys that are my price point or a little bit above. It's just in anything you have different pricing sort of structures, don't you? So
exactly. Cool. Well, thanks very much for joining me on the I Do's and Do Nots podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And maybe see you for a future episode. You'll never know.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Good luck.
All
and see you soon at another wedding, I hope.
Oh, fingers crossed.
See you.
All right. Thank you for having me.